Mindset Podcast. We're your guide as you make your way through life, getting better 1% every day. We believe that life is lived and true victory won through adversity. Nothing easy is ever worth it. We believe in the warrior ethos and support those that choose to walk that path.
Man, I'm glad to have you here.
Gene, I have to say, it's awesome to finally be here.
How long we've been trying for like a year.
Oh my God. Yeah, we've it's been a minute.
Been busy.
My schedule's been a little crazy. So before we start, so you said this Jocko Go is pretty good, huh?
I like it.
All right. Is this like we're going to give him a plug, Jocko Go?
Not on purpose.
All right.
Not on purpose.
See if it works. My first Jocko Go.
Oh, let's see what you think. Not bad, right?
Get up. Get busy.
Go.
It hurts good. Not bad.
What's your whistle?
Yeah.
It's pretty healthy.
Not bad. What flavor is that?
What is that?
Flavorful explosion of mango. It's passion fruit mango.
Mango Mayhem.
Of course.
The Mango Mayhem.
Of course.
He's got a couple that are pretty weird, but
yeah.
I like it all right.
It's good stuff. There's not a whole lot of stuff in it.
You know, I had to cut down my caffeine.
Yeah, me too.
I had one of those because you had one of the big Yetis, and I had one of those myself, and I would drink like 3 of those a day.
Yeah,
that's too much.
If I could, I've thought about just loading up a Camelback and throw on with coffee. And,
coffee Camelback.
Yeah, and pour the little foo frothy on the top and stuff. Yeah, absolutely. See, now we're onto something. That'd be an invention, and we could probably sit here and laugh about it.
And someone buy it.
We could probably make millions.
Maybe.
It was like when I was a rookie cop and putting handcuffs on and having to double lock them in the dark. Years ago in the early 90s, I'm like, wow, it'd be awesome to have a flashlight on a handcuff key, and laughed it off. And then guess what? There's all kinds of different handcuff keys with lights on it.
Really?
So, yeah.
You missed.
Yeah. Swing and a miss.
Well, it was giving me anxiety.
Yeah.
That much coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I'm like, I don't normally have anxiety. Like, when you say the word anxiety, but what I do is I'm sort of obsessive compulsive about like interactions with people.
No.
So like I would just like spin on these conversations that I'd have like all night.
Yeah.
And then I realized that it's the coffee. And then I cut down to like one of those a day and gone.
Really?
Now I don't give a shit what anybody says. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I still do, but yeah, it was the coffee for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Caffeine, exercise science over at the University of South Carolina, they were doing a study on the effects of caffeine.
Okay.
And specifically for law enforcement and military personnel. I'm not sure if he's done his dissertation on it or not yet, but I participated in the study, and it was I don't know if they were given caffeine pills. I don't know if I got the real thing or the placebo, but
okay.
It was they have the bod pod to get your BMI, and so I get in it, and of course, I take up a lot of real estate.
Yeah.
It's like I'm
not good on the CAT scans either.
I don't fit in eggs very well. And then they had a cognitive test where you have to hit the light when it flashes. So you stand there looking at the board. I forget the name of the board, and it gives you a math problem. And so like 2 + 2, that's easy. That's 8. And but there would be some of the math questions. I'm like, I don't know that. I just went math, and hit a button. And then there was a kind of a plyometric deal, which they had tied into a video game where you're doing different movements and stuff, and then a shooting as on the simulator, which was pretty neat. The simulator messed up a couple of times on us, but
it's like a little shaky.
Yeah, it was it just wasn't registering the hits like they need. But it was a pretty neat test.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of curious to see what the actual outcome on it is.
No kidding.
Because when I pound caffeine, especially when I'm tired, I can definitely feel it.
Yeah. It's a weird feeling too.
Yeah, because I'll hit 2 and 3 of those Yetis a day.
Yep. And, I mean, I was there with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And just, with the schedules we keep.
It's probably a bad thing when coffee doesn't keep you awake.
Yeah.
But like, what has happened to you?
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired. I'll have coffee before bed.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, a lot of people don't get it, is that, of course, a lot of our anxiety is self-imposed, but that's business. When you own a business, you take everything. Everybody's, oh man, you got it made. No, when you got to think about payroll and rent and insurance,
shit rolls downhill, man.
Everything that goes with owning businesses, it's a lot.
Stress.
It is, but it's our stress.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. You, talk about you a little bit. I mean, you're now a business owner, but tell me a little bit about, I mean, I know, but for the sake of the show here, like, where'd you come from? What's your history?
Well, when I was 3, too far back. So, yeah, as you know, I started out, in the Navy. I was a propulsion engineer in the Navy. After that, I went to college down in Miami at FIU for a minute, failed every course. True freshman, worked at Penrod's down on South Beach, which was a very interesting place back in the early 90s. Left there, ended up moving back to South Carolina because I started my law enforcement career. And
you're from South Carolina originally?
Myrtle Beach.
Okay.
Right. And God, almost 30 years later, retired again. And it's just, I'm getting old.
We all are, man.
Yeah, just, as you know, went back here in January as an interim chief for a little bit, and did that, and then punched out, and I'm done. I can comfortably say I'm done.
Okay, are you sure?
90%.
Right. Well, it's hard to, I mean, the right opportunity with the right circumstances.
So, as a consultant doing strategic management studies for law enforcement agencies and other government and corporate entities, it's transactional. I go in, consult, get a paycheck, and I leave.
Right.
Purely transactional.
Okay.
But going in as an interim chief, putting a uniform back on, building the relationship with the officers like I did, it was a different investment, and I had skin in the game. And there's some fantastic officers that I had the opportunity to work with and lead there. And so it was just different.
It's hard to leave them on their own.
Yeah. It was not an easy decision, but I have I've got a lot of responsibilities, to myself and my family and businesses that need my attention, and my schedule is demanding enough, with travel. So as you know, I just got back in country. I was home for like 2 days, and I had to go out to Los Angeles and
keep like, hey, can you be on the show? Well, yeah, but I got to go here. Like, okay, well, one day.
Or you talk to me the day before I'm at home, and then the next day, I'm
what
on the West Coast.
It's kind of cool, though. I mean, I know you probably get tired of that, but it's kind of cool.
Listen,
it's kind of a cool life.
It's been a fun ride. It's been very unexpected. I've had the opportunity to do a lot of amazing things, meet a lot of amazing people. Yeah. And, my success, I attribute to one, I'm not afraid to put the work in. I don't take no for an answer very well. And most importantly, the people that I surround myself with. And, it's my team. They're the ones that really, make it happen. Yeah. And it's been great. I mean, you included, you've contributed a lot. I
appreciate it.
To help, from the web development and stuff like that, which has been fantastic. And also from the friendship and bouncing each other, ideas from a business perspective.
Important.
Yeah, it is, inventing, because we can vent to each other and we get it. Yeah. If you vent about business related stuff to somebody that's not in business,
they just think you're bitching.
Yeah. And they don't, it doesn't resonate with them, like it does with us. But yeah, it's definitely been an adventure. And, my ride or die, of course, is Tracy. She's right there every step of the way. And, she's deployed right now. So I could talk trash. But no, I'm still afraid.
Yeah. She'll be back soon.
Yeah. And what she'll do is she'll pull up her phone and say, remember this?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, she's a lawyer, right?
No, paralegal.
Paralegal. Okay. Well,
she's I think
she's in that world. She's taking notes.
I think she's the chief paralegal on this task force. For where she's at. And Yeah, she's a lot meaner than a lawyer.
Well, you kind of, I mean, you blew through a bunch of stuff. You were like, law enforcement, whatever. But you were. Tell me about your involvement in the SWAT teams. What you do.
Yeah. So with when I was younger and started off when I was at the sheriff's office, I started out as just SWAT team member.
Okay.
It was kind of funny because the agency really didn't have a formal tryout at the time. I mean, this was back in the mid '90s.
Okay.
And the guy that was on the team before me was pretty close to my size. So the tactical vest fit.
We're like, you fit.
So I'm like, whatever, so at least that's what my team leader told me. Great guy.
You're only here because you fit the vest.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
I'm like, okay, yeah, great. But it's been an adventure for sure. But started out, just as a SWAT team member and went into various roles from breacher to being a sniper. To training officer for the team, element leader, and ultimately I was the division commander for special operations. I had a fantastic time there. A lot of good people as well. Then life took a turn and started, business wise, I started, my business is Sword International in '98, kind of as a part-time hobby. And since then it's grown. We rebranded probably around 10 years ago. I'm guessing. I can't keep up with time anymore.
Yeah. What is time anyway?
Yeah. And then now you got to do COVID math. When did COVID hit? Let's see, that was 2 and then plus and then minus. And
I still think 2000 was like 5 or 10 years ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it doesn't register.
But we rebranded as MERS Strategic, and because in '07, the only thing we were doing was tactical training for law enforcement and military organizations, mostly law enforcement.
As a private entity.
And when the housing market crashed and budgets dried up and fuel prices rose, agencies are having to rob training budgets to pay for fuel.
Yeah.
So I had to take a step back and kind of look at different, options, because there was nothing happening trading wise that was generating income. So I had a friend of mine that I used to teach for a company based out of California as an adjunct instructor, and he asked me to come out and he was an LAPD guy, and they used to team us up all the time to go and teach together around the country and also some international stuff. He's like, "Hey, brother, come out and work the Grammys with me." I think this was actually '05. So this was actually before the crash. So I went out and did the Grammys with him. It was like 3 days of worked with Lincoln Park, which was pretty cool.
And that's like security, was that security planning or like
no,
security?
we did the personal protection side on that.
Okay.
There was 6 members in the band, so there were 6 of us. Each one of us had a member of the band, and it was definitely a lot of fun. It was at the Staples Center in Los Angeles. And the one thing that I still remember they still bust my balls over is we're on the red carpet. So you have the Staples Center, if you just picture way up here, and then come down path, and way down here is where all the red carpet stuff is. So they have all the press and everything, and then you got to kind of go through a little tinted corridor to get up to where the Staples Center, and then go through screening. So before we got there, we went to a really good Italian restaurant before the Grammys, and we're in tuxes and stuff, and so we're getting and now Lincoln Park was performing with Paul McCartney, and they were also up for an award. Okay, so they're having to stop at every press outlet.
You got to take pictures and stuff. Yeah.
So as usual, we're all on comms, and we're just kind of shooting the shit on comms, and I start kind of sweating. I'm like, oh man. Then my stomach bloom, and I'm like, oh God,
I gotta go.
I said, I called my buddy, and I was like, hey brother, I need somebody to watch my guy. He's like, what? I said, I gotta go. He goes, where you go? I gotta go. I gotta poop. And so I'm having to just casually walk down, the edge of the carpet there and kind of get past everybody without drawing, any attention. Man, I hit that back tendon.
That's a mission.
And brother, it felt like a 10-mile run to get to the Staples Center, because that was where the closest bathroom was.
Right.
And so it's all the behind the scenes antics that make it so much fun.
Yeah.
And we still get mileage out of it this many years later.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did that. That was just, a 2-day gig.
Yeah.
Because we had some stuff the day before and then the day of the Grammys. Then in 2006, I went out with System of a Down, which was really cool, because I was a big fan of theirs, and it's just funny that did a short 6-week run with them on Ozfest 06.
It's very cool.
So then bump forward a year later, that's when they had the crash and all the training funds, stopped, and I was still working. I'd gone to a small agency just because business, was doing well, and it was obviously that young. The kids were still young, and and it just paid so much better. And in 2007, I got asked to come out on tour with a artist named Josh Groban. Awesome guy. I've been with Josh now since 2007, and it was I think the first run was about 8 months.
Wow.
Guessing.
Wow.
Something like that. I mean, we did a lot of cities, a lot of
tour.
countries. Yeah, it was a full tour.
Yeah.
And it was his world tour. It was the Awake tour, which was a world tour.
Okay.
And but since then, not to lay out the whole history of it, but because of the level I came in at, which very fortunate, a lot of guys that go into the music industry, and at the end of the day, we're roadies. At the end of the day, everybody else, you're a roadie, and you embrace the term. It's it's a really fun industry. It really is, and there's a lot of good people. I've learned a lot. I like to learn what other people out there do, especially because there's two facets. There's venue security. So whenever somebody goes to a concert and you see the orange shirts, fire, EMS, ushers, right? So we're behind the scenes on the venue side, advancing that before we get there, telling them, hey, here's what we need, here's where we need it, the time hacks where we need people, and we have to do the budget, the whole 9 yards. And then you also have to manage that while you're on site to make sure that the people you're paying for, the number of people you're paying for, are actually on their post and there, because some places, people don't show up and they'll still leave it on the budget. So you got to be able to try to do your best. When you're doing arenas and stadiums, it's almost impossible, because
it's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. Because, I don't have the time to go and, check, everybody's there. But, I've had the opportunity to work with everybody from, Ozzy Osbourne to Josh and everything in between.
It's very cool.
And, just picked up a new client. I'll leave unnamed right now. And just got back from LA and going out with his band in August. So
that'll be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. But I started all of this just because I'm so passionate about the training. I think it's very important. I had a good friend of mine killed in the line of duty. It was a trooper, got shot and killed. And that same year, my roommate got shot and killed. He had, like 2 months prior, had moved out. Moved in with a girl. But and so that kind of resonated with me as far as from a training aspect, because I felt it was very important to get all the skills I could, to be able to do my job efficiently, and then also wanted to pass those skills on and to people, and and I've being in business, I've had the opportunity to make a lot of money doing what I do. But there's no payment that I have ever experienced better than somebody coming up to me and saying, hey, I came through your class and your technique saved my life.
Wow. That's incredible.
It is. And the techniques I'm teaching, it's not stuff I've made up. It's things that I've learned from other people. And, everybody wants to coin their own stuff. I'm a big believer on the basics. you get really, really good at the basics.
Yeah.
And always look for work. I can sit here and give a million cliche terms, but you have to have that foundation. And in the training world, too many people, in my opinion, for what it's worth, and I'm sure I'll have some haters on it, but try to coin all these fancy things and teach people, especially in law enforcement, these fancy things. But what you have to look at is you've got a broad demographic of adult learner that you have to be able to appeal to, how they learn.
Yeah.
But then what's that retention rate going to be? Because I could teach, say, an active shooter course, and those officers may not get that training or anything close to it for a year or longer. And so, but basics, and you make the training fun. You make it, safety is always paramount, but you make it fun to where, because if you know, and that's just me, that's my personality.
I think you're onto something, man.
If something's fun, because we've all been to classes where you have the talking head, blah, blah, blah.
I was just thinking how many like seminars I've been to where I couldn't recall right now. I could recall the people, like famous UFC fighters, but what they taught, I don't remember any of the stuff they taught.
It's that's just me. I like to make things fun, and I like repetition.
Well, I think about that too. Like I do every quarter with USC, I do a women's self-defense thing. It's like an hour. And I think like for most of these people, this is the only hour they're going to get of this.
Yeah.
Like what could I give you in an hour?
Yeah.
That's going to actually help you if you're, so you gotta, it's basic block and tackling, simple things.
Yeah.
Hopefully you remember it. And that's it. That's all you got.
And depending on who it is and how long you have them for, then you can adjust fire. And
if I had 6 months,
add on.
Badass
absolutely.
when we're done.
You could scale the training.
Yeah.
But it's I get people for a short period of time. When I teach instructor courses, my format's totally different than anything I've ever been to. And what I've done essentially over the years is go to all these schools. I mean, when I was a rookie, I'd call different agencies and say, hey, here's who I am. I'm a police officer. Can I come train with your SWAT team, or can I come, to a training day or whatever? And I'd seek it out. I've spent a lot of money going to, private training, to governmental schools through FLETC and other places, and getting certifications. And a lot of it's been on my own time, but that's, an investment in me. And I tell people, also that, if you want to succeed, whether it's in business or your law enforcement career or corporate, sector, wherever you're at, you have to invest in yourself. You've got to take that time and invest in yourself. I used to hear officers, well, my agency should issue me this holster. Well, if they issue a piece of crap holster and you want a level 3 holster,
go buy it.
It's like, well, I'm not spending money. I'm like, well, how much is your life worth? And
man, you're in a job that's specific to needing that thing.
Yeah. And it's I have gone through more gear over the years. I'm sure. Just trying stuff out, buy something, take it out and train with it, and don't like it, and so it goes in a box.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, some of the stuff that I've come across, and I put it on eBay. And
oh, really?
Oh yeah. Used on SWAT, sold. For more than I bought it for 20 years ago, or whatever.
Take advantage of it.
But but from the law enforcement perspective on my career side, man, it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed everything I've done, opportunities I've had, good times and bad times. You have them in every industry.
Sure.
Is what it is. But I'm staring down the barrel trying to find that big oak tree to sit under and finish out my days.
Well, let's talk about the planning.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you? I forget what it was, but I sat in on something you were doing. Might have been over at the dojo we've trained in before. The dojo I trained in. Mm-hmm. You were going over some security stuff or something. I don't remember, but it struck me just how much planning there was, and thoughtfulness put into the way you structure all those pages. I mean, so it's sort of a twofold question. I mean, like, how do you get good at that?
Honestly, is one, have zero ego.
Okay.
For it, and I'm as A-type as I get, but when it comes to that stuff, take for instance, when I started flying, I went in there with a clean slate and I wanted to be a total sponge. because I'm coming from skydiving. I understand because when you're jumping and you're under canopy, you're flying. You're a pilot. You're piloting a wing. So all the principles of flight apply. So I had the basic concepts. I had the basic knowledge of an aircraft, but I didn't know shit about flying, being the pilot.
Right.
So I wanted to be a really good pilot. So I asked a lot of questions. I read, I watched videos, and I grilled my flight instructor, for instructors, because I flew with several different ones. The cool thing, while I was on tour with a client, I was able to fly in different states, get with an instructor in each place. So flying out of, I started flying out of Fairfield. So that's all pine and typical South Carolina landscape. And then Boise, Idaho.
Oh, but that's totally different.
Yeah. And so the experience.
There's no mountains around here.
And I think when I got out there, I might have been just over like 10, 12 hours.
Oh boy. And
so flying there, your reference points are all different, but it's like there's a big gorge. We flew over the gorge. Okay. So your wind's different, your temperature variances, so there's a lot of things that affect, the aircraft, in California, was able to fly out over the ocean, which was awesome. Cool. So I had a lot of good things, but yeah, to get good at it, you've got to put the time in, you've got to put the time into, and not only, the research aspect of it and the studying, but also the practical application of it. It's just like, learning a language. First time I went to Brazil in 2001 to teach, there was a big team of instructors. We went down there, we were teaching 3 separate courses. And at the end of the 2 weeks, we brought them all together and did a full mission profile exercise. So I was teaching with my guys the SWAT school for the Brigada Militar, which is their military police, and their SWAT team in Fortaleza, Brazil. We were the first American police officers to teach in Fortaleza. We got merit awards from Secretary of Defense for that state. It was really a amazing opportunity, but nobody spoke English.
Yeah.
So I had my interpreter with me, and everybody had a terp, and we'd share a hotel room. So day one, I was having a hard time getting in the groove of, teaching this class through him. And it was supposed to be a hard class. We're supposed to be hard on these guys. So I can't really yell. I'm yelling at them, but they don't know what the hell I'm saying. They probably get a few of the cuss words. But so when I
just know you're yelling.
Yeah. So when I went back that first night, I wrote a whole list of stuff out that I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And so the next day when I went back, we were starting out some exercises, and there was one of the majors that was in the class. He looked like a Brazilian John Belushi. Okay. I mean, and he embraced it. Dude did cartwheels and everything. It was hilarious. And so we were getting ready to start an exercise, and I looked at him and I said, "Pronto," which means ready.
Yeah. And
I'm like, "Vai, porra, vai." And, porra is the F word in Portuguese, and vai, is go, and quahe is run, so
he's like,
I start screaming at him, and he's trying to process the fact that I'm speaking to him now in Portuguese.
It's like, what the?
And he starts laughing. Dude almost started hyperventilating. It was hilarious. So it'd been down there several times, since then. Still have a really good relationship. Just had a police commissioner here for a couple of instructor courses. Cool. So again, I wanted to learn the language. Yeah. So I applied my time to learning the language and learning a skill. That's all anything is, whether it's, doing a podcast. How'd you get good at doing podcasts? I've watched them.
Did a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Some aren't so good.
No, you limp through them.
Yeah.
And until you get your groove and you get in here and you get good at it. I've seen your studio develop. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Studio's got a wow factor. I just walking in, I'm like,
I hope so.
Yeah, it looks great.
It's a room.
Yeah. But you're having fun with it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have fun with it, you're not gonna get good at it.
There's so many people that would say, like, well, I'm not getting paid to learn Portuguese.
Yeah. So
you're probably not going to be the one running the course either.
What's the investment you're putting into yourself? If you have that negative mindset to where you don't want to learn and you're not teachable, then you're putting a governor on yourself.
Yeah.
You're only gonna do so much in life.
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Yeah,
You
there
know?
was that term that was I haven't heard it recently, but it was what they call it, quiet quitting,
Yeah.
where it's like just doing the minimum
Yeah.
of what you're being paid to do.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, if you're working like a minimum wage job at McDonald's, like yeah, just do what they're paying you to do. But like if you're a professional, I mean, it's not that there's an expectation from your employer to do more.
Right.
So you should have that in yourself to want to get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, what's the point otherwise? Like,
Yeah.
How are you going to get out of that situation?
Right. Well, it's just like, training with Sensei Penna.
Right.
It's like, I walk in, I've got a long martial arts background,
Yeah.
but I haven't trained in years.
Yeah.
And, he gave me the option to either wear my black belt or come in as a white belt.
Right.
And the answer was really easy. I'm coming as a white belt,
right.
because if I look like, we can cuss on here, can't we?
Of course.
That's awesome. Shit. but for lack of better words, if I look like a monkey fucking a football out on his mat,
Yeah, right. What's the point?
wearing a black belt, they're not seeing me as Darren black belt.
Right.
They're seeing one of Sensei Penna's black belts,
right,
representing his dojo.
Yes.
And I've got way too much respect for for not only him and what his business represents, but for martial arts and everybody else as a whole that's in it. So I don't mind coming in, and doing it. And I've got to get back. Just man, I miss it. I need to get back on that mat. It's one thing I like about being in there, it's nothing else matters when you're on the mat.
I tell people that all the time when they come to train. I'm like, just leave all that outside.
Yeah, it's great.
Take off your watch.
Yeah. You have nothing. The only thing that is happening is karate.
That's it. Or whatever. Yeah.
Whatever you're doing.
Whatever it is, turn it off and just focus.
Yeah.
That's what, I mean, that's meditation for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, I don't need to sit under a waterfall and
breathe
deep. I mean, that's cool too, but like, just get in there and roll around. It's fun.
But you have to get really good at it. Now I'm gonna name drop and talk about somebody. I don't know if he'll see this or not, but hopefully he won't beat me up if I say nice things about him. So at the academy, there's one of the instructors over there, Bruce Hancock's been there forever, and Bruce, people are always, he's mean, blah 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 blah. Bruce was was the lead defensive tactics instructor. I'm not sure exactly what his position is now, but I know he's still involved in defensive tactics. But he takes it serious because it's life-saving skills he's putting to work. And, when you don't get that portion of it right, you or somebody else could die.
Yeah.
So he took his job, still takes his job very seriously. But I just remember, and he's at work, very even kill. I mean, this guy, he's good. He's a hell of a martial artist, because not only from the law enforcement side, he went outside and took and studied a lot of different styles, because he wanted to see what was out there and wanted to learn. Right. But I remember going through, I went through DT instructor back in like 96 and some other courses and stuff with him. But it was like, all right, let's do something else. And we're like all kind of like looking at our watch. It's like, dude, come on. It's like 1 minute till 5. We're government employees, and we like, and because we've been at it all day.
Yeah.
And so we, joking used to do it. We were having fun in there doing it. But I noticed at some point, because I look at instructors like him and Mike Lanier, who's a staple over there, and some of the older guys that I came up under, and I've turned into them, because I'm like, all right, that looked good. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And it's over and over and over. I want the repetition. Yeah. I want to see my students do repetition. And circling back to my earlier comment about my instructor courses are different. A lot of courses that you go to for instructor stuff, you might teach 1 or 2 times. Mine, you're teaching constantly. You have an online prereq, and then everything else is hands-on. And I have range cards, and it just goes boop, 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 each student back and forth, and they teach techniques. And the reason is I don't, I care that they can shoot. That's the first thing they do is they qualify. Once they pass the qualification, okay.
We know you can shoot.
I know you can shoot. Now I want to see if you can teach.
Mm.
And I want to see if you can teach really, really outstanding.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the course, guess what? I'm signing off on you to go into the wild
and teach other people
and teach your agency.
Yeah.
And that agency could be several hundred people. So when you do the math and then put the liability factor involved, that liability ultimately could come back to my company. So 100%. I want to make sure that when they go out and start teaching, that they're really outstanding instructors. So, and they have to meet the standards. There's several qualifications throughout the course. You know, we have waypoints, and they have to pass each one in order to go to the next. You know, and I've gotten really good reviews. I mean, it's as far as the format, it's like, you know, you do it, you do that skill, and then they'll hand me the cards back. I hand it to somebody else. Say, you're going to teach this next. Do you have any questions? Nope. And I'm right there as a resource.
Right.
And sometimes I'll call a check fire and then go over a technique to smooth it out, and then we'll move forward. So I'm interjecting.
If they're paying attention, they learn from that too.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to see that they're making mistakes, like shooting from the prone. I'll have most instructors that have that technique to teach, they'll go down to the prone position instead of pulling a student, put the student in the prone position
and show that way,
and then have everybody go to a knee. They go to a knee. So now everybody's at the same level, but you have the student, so you can go through how to build out your body position in the prone position. So it's
the only way to learn that is to teach.
Absolutely.
To be in the scenario.
Yeah. But it gives them the opportunity to get into their groove.
Yeah.
And they'll ask me questions. Hey, how many rounds should I do on this or that? Well, it says on the card how many rounds you have, but I also say, okay, you have everything in writing. Do you have any safety related questions? No. So do you understand that you have that many rounds to work with? Yes. Okay, it's your course. Teach it.
Yeah.
Is I'm empowering them to make the decisions to do it, because I want to see how their problem solving abilities are as well.
It's cool.
And it gives them a little gas in the tank to go out and make mistakes.
Yeah, you don't make robots either.
No, and we're monitoring the safety aspect of it the entire time.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, it's and I've been to a lot of instructor schools, and they've all kind of been the same basic format, and you're just checking boxes, and you're not teaching a lot.
Yeah.
I was out of state years ago, and I'm being vague intentionally. But I was out of state years ago, and on one of my evaluations, a student, it was a sub-gun instructor course, and it was up north. And one of the students put one of the dislikes, he had to teach too much. At that time, I wasn't doing the format I'm doing now. I think that you might have taught 2 or 3 times.
Oh, wow.
And it was a week-long course.
Like, brother, you don't even know.
And I'm like, did you not see the word instructor in the course?
Yeah.
You
want to be an instructor, but you don't want to teach.
Yeah.
You should probably quit.
But, I'm very candid. Anybody that comes to my course, they're going to hear profanity. They're not going to be able to fly under the radar.
Hey,
we're going to have fun. We're going to bust balls.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, guess what? You're having fun.
Yeah.
You're having fun.
Yeah.
And,
that's cool.
And
that's I will say I didn't learn I thought I knew things, but I didn't know them until I started teaching.
Yeah.
Like but it's not just, that's cool, because it's not just teaching. It's when you are responsible for teaching, and you're responsible for those individuals from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
Like that's when you learn, because you got to you don't just have to show them the thing, but then you have to build on it to show them the next thing. And you got to make sure they get it.
Absolutely.
And that's hard.
Yeah. And from teaching, when you're up in front, all eyes are on you.
Oh yeah.
And so you don't want to look like that monkey with the football.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with me.
What about when you make a mistake?
Yeah.
I make mistakes all the time.
Own it.
Yeah.
But
I've seen so many of them, they'll make a mistake and then they're like,
yeah,
that's how it's supposed to be. And you're like,
yeah.
Everybody knows, man, you just fucked that up.
Yeah. But, part of it also is from the instructor side. Before I teach classes, I'll tell the instructors, students, I'll say, listen, I said, you're going to see me make mistakes out here. When you do, call me on it.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to correct me on it.
Yeah.
We're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. I don't care what level you are, whether you're, in law enforcement, military, what level in special operations, you're going to make mistakes. It happens.
Right.
And, it's before I go teach a class, I don't just magically go out and, after not teaching an instructor course for a couple of months and magically
you got
still be really good. I have to do a workup for about a week.
Yeah.
As far as my pistol skills and stuff like that, I carry daily. I train.
Yeah, but it's not.
I'm fortunate to have a tactical training center at 1140 Mosley Avenue, Irmo, where we have a state-of-the-art virtual range fitness center and 2-story shoot house with hidden compartments and other things. Come check us out.
It's very cool.
Yeah. Now,
please.
But so I've got a playground to do that.
Yeah.
In. But they're perishable skills, and you want to look good when you're up there in front of students. So and I'm very mindful of my technique, because if I'm doing something sloppy, and a lot of times it's monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah. 100%.
But mistakes we're gonna make. You just own your mistake, and don't try to candy coat it, because you're gonna lose a little something there.
So we started off with the planning, and I've seen it. You're kind of a meticulous planner. I've seen the whiteboards and stuff. Does that kind of come? You talked about you two people that that died. Does that kind of feed into the need to plan?
It's always in the background more so from a survival standpoint for that.
Yeah.
The planning ties into everything. So yes, that would be the answer to your question. Sure. But you have to plan everything, whether you're a rookie police officer, or a seasoned veteran, or a SEAL or a Green Beret or a paramedic. You have to plan your day. You've got to start. Okay, well, I got my duty belt on. I've got my keepers. I have my gun in my holster, because I can tell you there's a lot of people that have gone to work without a gun in their holster.
Hey, there's people that go to work and leave their kid in the back seat.
Yeah, because they've changed their pattern. Yeah. So by having a pattern, or that mental checklist, it's going to help you succeed at whatever it is you're doing. We run checklist, for SWAT operations. We have checklists for stuff, because it eliminates omissions and those mistakes. Because when you get woke up at 2 a.m. and you have to respond to a call out, and then you have
your shit straight.
Yeah, and you have to run the command post. There's certain things that you need to make sure that are done. And, a checklist is going to help you through that. But at the end of the day, that also anything, let's say that the case ends up in court where you've had to shoot somebody,
well, I can tell you, I did these things. Yeah. Is that like a literal list?
Oh yeah.
Or is it like in your head?
No, you have checklists for different things. And not 100% of everything will make it to the checklist.
Sure.
But, law enforcement agencies have been at this stuff for a long time, and a lot of these things have already been in place. Okay. So what we do is they're living documents. We build onto them, and we add stuff to them. It's just like, if I'm traveling, I plan prior to traveling, so I don't forget anything. It's that simple. It's no different. We plan subconsciously with things that we do. It's like, I talk to people about, route planning. You have a route plan. If there's a wreck and you're driving home, do you have another way home?
Right. Yeah, of course.
What if that was blocked? Another way home?
I hope so.
Yeah. So typically you have a primary, secondary, and tertiary route home.
Right.
When we look at, security planning, we're looking at everything from, the perimeter to access control, intrusion detection, video monitoring, You're
just trying to work through those things before you have to do it on the fly.
Yeah. We can talk, concentric rings of security and what needs to be involved in that, and how it's layered, and whose responsibilities for in each ring as you collapse down to where your event location is. So it's
I get you.
Yeah, it just depends on what your task is, right, or your job that you have to do, and then you build your plan around that, and ideally primary, secondary on everything. But planning is definitely.
Well, I just finished. I'm wearing a shirt like a fanboy here. Just finished. Mike Glover.
Yeah.
Just wrote a book, Prepared, and it's the book's a lot about that.
Yeah.
Like the primary plans, like all the stuff. But there's a lot dedicated to doing that and living that lifestyle, but also not being a weirdo.
Yeah. Well, it's funny
because I know people that are they talk about the same thing.
The proverbial preppers.
Yeah, there's people that are weird.
Yeah,
and it's like you don't have to be weird.
Yeah,
and I get like I'm not you. I don't do this for a living, but I kind of live in that world, and I talk to people, and it comes up, and people think I'm weird sometimes about like just being prepared. You know, I've got
Yeah.
the stuff in my car, you know,
Yeah.
carry the med kit with the tourniquet. I do those things.
Yeah. You know, it's when I teach, I have a class that we teach survival strategies for the workplace, and
Yeah.
it's not just the active shooter component, because we work in some industrial
Yes,
environments.
all kinds
It's
of
what
stuff.
if, you know, somebody gets a appendage ripped off from a
Yeah.
machine or something,
Yeah.
but you know, and it's having those simple things. You know, if you don't have a manufactured tourniquet, what can you use as an improvised tourniquet? Well, everybody says, "Oh, I can
Wow.
use a necktie or this or that."
Yeah.
One thing they're forgetting, okay, yeah,
How you go
could
tighten it?
the windlass,
Yeah.
you know, and
It's gonna be
but
hard to do.
I could use a cord. Okay, what
Can
kind
you?
of cord? Will
Yeah.
it stretch? Will it break?
Yeah.
Is it just going to cut in and not really do
You're
its
gonna cause
job
more
because you don't
damage?
have the surface space?
Right. Right.
So yeah, there's a lot of things that, you know, and I've made the crossing from Florida to the Bahamas to West End, and gone other places in the Bahamas. If you don't plan that stuff, you know, it's not
Yeah,
that
you're on your own.
It's not that you can just get lost. You can die
Yeah.
out there on a small boat.
Yeah.
You have to plan the weather. We hit a storm on our last trip there that you know, created you know, some pretty significant seas, to where, you know, we're going up and then back down. So for a good 10 minutes of hell. And that was part of a squall. We're looking at radar. The storm is just off the Florida coast. It was just east of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And that squall spun off of that, came out of nowhere, felt the temperature drop, and boom, we have a nasty sea state. And if you don't plan and educate yourself on boating, you know, and keep your bow into it, manage your power, you know, you're going to have a bad day. Because if it makes it over your bow and swamps you, or you get broadsided, you're done, you know. And that was in fairly shallow water. If it happens out in the Gulf Stream and you're not monitoring the weather on a small boat, you're talking 30, 40 foot waves. That water's, you know, 3,000 to 4,000 feet.
Shark food, bro.
There. Yeah. So,
well, and I bring that up because it's so, you know, I coach fitness too, you know, I own a gym, and people will come in and they'll sort of make jokes about, you know, like, I don't got a six pack, I got a keg, and they make these jokes and things. And I've learned over the years that's a psychological thing. They're just making an excuse for not doing the things they should have been doing. And I think when people say things like that, like, I'm not talking about crazy preppers that should be on TV.
Sure.
They're crazy. And we, like, you know, they're building like gun turrets in the top of their house.
What's wrong with that?
I know it'd be kind of cool, but like,
do you have a design?
Making those jokes, and it's sort of like a willful excuse to not be prepared. When I hear that.
So let me give you a couple of examples. Let's talk prep. So one, when COVID hit, you know, everybody used to bust my balls because I have so much toilet paper and stuff. Once COVID hit and toilet paper ran out,
I'm set, y'all.
I went from a prepper to a visionary. Wait, hold on. I went from a prepper to a visionary. But I've always bought and bought.
I'll make sure this is in black and white.
Yeah, I know, right? So we had, where I used to live, we had an incident where the water main busted up on the main road. Our neighborhood was without water for 2 days. Went to the grocery store because I only had, like, you know, half a case of water probably. Yeah. And I went to the grocery store, bought a house, sold out.
Yeah.
Went to Walmart, sold out. So apparently everybody from the neighborhood, same problem. It's a big neighborhood. There's like 480 houses in the neighborhood.
They all bought the water.
So I ended up having to drive, you know, distance to get water. And I'm like, you know what? We need to start, you know, having this stuff. And you know, Boy Scouts recommend it. FEMA recommends.
Yeah, it's Boy Scouts, y'all.
You know, what's up?
Boy Scouts says always be prepared. Like that. Come on.
So I'm going to tell you, one of the best resources I have found is let me look it up while we talk, because I want to tell you the name, and everybody can go on and look this up. But it's the Church of Latter-day Saints prepping manual. And it gets into hang on a second.
Church of Latter-day Saints, huh?
Yeah.
That's a weird spot to look for preparation.
Somebody told me about this.
Maybe they're getting ready for the end of the world or something.
And let's see. It's the LDS Preparedness Manual but it goes into, and it's 200 something pages, 220, 222 pages.
Oh my goodness.
But it'll go into the different types of beans, how to store them, how long they store. You have 10 people. Here's what that food store look like. Here's how much space it'll take up. So it's pretty good. But you know, take all the labeling away from it for a second.
Right.
Look at a couple of things. One, Katrina. When Katrina hit, I was down there the Saturday before it hit. New Orleans SWAT used to be a client when they had a budget. We used to teach a lot of classes.
We got to talk about Steven Seagal. Keep going.
Was down there the Saturday before it hit. Closed down the bar Saturday night because they canceled the course. I was under contract, so I had to fly down.
Yeah, you're already there.
My instructor staff was flying in on Sunday, so we canceled them Saturday afternoon. Once NOPD pulled the contract, or not pulled the contract, but they just canceled the course.
We got shit to do.
Yeah. So we went out and closed the bars. My mom had, my wife was, I think she might have been deployed at the time, or somewhere. She was not home. I can't remember where she was. She was armying somewhere. So my mom knew I was down there, and my mom will track me down to the ends of the earth. She called the hotel, couldn't get me. She calls the front desk, made them go bang on my door, wake me up. So I drove home from New Orleans. It took me almost 20 hours with traffic. So get back, get some teammates together. We go out to Fort Jackson to DRMO. We get a bunch of clothing and stuff from out there. Old BDUs where the recruits that don't make it, they all go to Dermo. They hooked us up with a bunch of stuff we took down because we didn't know what the gear status was. Who had what. A lot of the guys on the team lost their homes.
Yeah.
So we get down there, and usually cruise across I-10. We came across the 11th Street Bridge and up the opposite side of I-10, and it's just eerie dark. You see a couple little fires here and there, but the city's eerie dark.
That's like kind of a movie, man.
Yeah, and so we go over into Algiers to, from memory serve, I think it was Paul Havens Elementary School, and that's where they basically were working out of, because Moss Street is where the Special Operations Center used to be, and it was underwater. At the time, most of the city was still underwater when we got down there. So first couple days was going out and just trying to do recovery, and then after that we kitted up and went out, started doing door-to-door searches just to see if anybody was in there and stuff. So seeing the state of that city firsthand, what it went into,
I mean,
things
that's
that
the
happened.
thing. Being prepared doesn't mean you're like prepared to defend your life against like home intruders. I mean, which is a thing, but you're probably more often likely to run into that natural disaster, car accident. I mean, if it's an active shooter thing, you're going to stumble upon like people that's been injured.
Right.
I mean, that's probably where you're going to spend most of your effort.
Well, let me ask you this. Whenever something bad happens to you, that next event, what's it going to be?
What do you mean?
When you get attacked?
Yeah.
What kind of attack is it going to be?
Me?
Yeah. Your future attack. What is it going to be?
Oh, I have no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you prepare for one thing and you and you have a linear thought process and you don't open up and think outside the box, you're limiting yourself.
Yeah.
And so why not be prepared? And it's not just you. It's not just your family. It's anybody else you can help as well.
Yeah.
And
could be the whole neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the simple thing: food, water, first aid supplies, communications equipment, and things like that are what you need to look at. And it's funny because remember on Netflix they had, what was the show? Was it Doomsday Preppers? I'm preparing for a global pandemic.
Yeah.
And you laugh at them. What you watch?
We had one.
Right. You know what those guys were doing? I told them some bitches. Global pandemic.
Well, I think about COVID. I mean, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but it was like 0.001%, right?
Yeah.
Of people that, I'm going to say it wrong, died or were that ill to be in the hospital, whatever. 0.001%, whatever. It's that low. Right. What if it were 1%?
Yeah.
I mean,
and 1% is a lot when you look at the number of the population. I mean,
that's
world population.
10%. Those are like low numbers when you're dealing with like, tipping at a restaurant.
Sure.
But like, that's a lot of people. And that changes the scope of like the way your neighborhood interacts with each other.
Well, and think about it. If there was an incident, not to go down a rabbit hole, because we can what if all day long on
Of
this
course,
stuff, but let's just say, like you see in the movies, what if it was a 25%
oh my
casualty
God.
rate?
Yeah.
You would be burning piles of bodies.
Yeah. Your
you know?
neighborhood, it would be,
Yeah.
it'd be real bad.
But why not be prepared? Why not take the extra time to put longer screws in your hinges and put jam armor or,
I know,
polycarbonate films on your windows? Why not make your house safe for you? It's the random crime. It's not the big stuff. Start and think about just the random crime.
Just a security camera.
Yeah.
The amount of people that don't have them.
Yeah. Most incidents that happen in the workplace are from, either disgruntled employees or something where it's an intimate partner, that love triangle or whatever.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Those are where things really, can kick off and get nasty from say the active shooter standpoint.
Right.
But you got to take a little time and dig into stuff. What do I need to do? Step back and look from outside the bubble and say, okay, well, I can make my house safer here. I need to put some lights here.
Yeah.
If I put landscape lighting, that'll prevent someone from hiding behind a bush when my wife drives up at night and gets out of her car.
Yeah.
And we live in a nice neighborhood. I think I told you about this, but I'm sitting up in my office and I look over at my camera and I see somebody leaning in through the passenger side. It's like 7 maybe at night. My wife and her mom, because she was in town, they just got home a few minutes prior. And I look over, I'm up in my home office and look and see that on the camera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And I go right back to what I was working on. And Tracy yells and goes, Darren, somebody's in the car.
Shit.
And I thought it was her.
Yeah.
And it was somebody, she left the car unlocked because, they just come in.
Yeah.
And they pulled right up front, got out, walked down the driveway, opened the door, went in. And then, of course, I go running down. I got Odie with me. And, so they had just drove off, and I went to get my Dodge Durango with the big-ass Hemi. And guess what? My keys were laying on my desk upstairs.
Oh.
So, but
for those listening, Odie is a German Shepherd.
Yes.
With titanium teeth. Which is crazy, but
I've spent more on.
What a sweet dog, though.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. I've spent more on dental
I bet.
on him than I have both my boys. And
well, I mean, I think about the amount of people that I've talked to that maybe physically can't or don't know how to even change their tire.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's like that is like, and I'm not mocking them. I'm just saying that's the lowest level of prep. Yeah. Like, go change a tire. Learn that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Learn how to jump your car off, like, or buy one of those battery things where you can do it. Just basic block and tackling.
Sew a button on your shirt.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about carrying a firearm 24/7. We're just talking about learning how to do basic
boil an egg.
Yeah, I mean, holy moly,
Yeah, and so simple stuff. Do you know why? It's because of these. Yeah, it's the age of technology where everybody feels, I can just look it up. And it's like a perfect example. We used to have a Chevy Trailblazer, and the headlight, you can't just swap, the bulb and pull it out and put a new bulb in. You have to change out the whole assembly. Mm-hmm. And if memory serves, or maybe you have to take the assembly out to get to put the bulb in. I can't remember. It's been so damn long. But anyway, one thing I remember is, I'm there working on it, and I've got the screws out, and I'm like, grog, trying to get it out. So, I've exhausted my knowledge of that to the point where I don't want to gorilla it and break.
We're about to get the crowbar.
So I jump on YouTube and look up the model of the car and stuff. Yeah. And there was a little thing, a little bar that you had to pop up, pull it out. And I didn't see it. Yeah. So it was something that simple. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah. It's okay to say you don't know.
Right.
And ask somebody. Yeah. I didn't have anybody around to call. So I just, I jumped on the internet and did the research. But it just seems like that's getting kind of lost in translation as far as, what, get out and do stuff.
Yeah.
Get outside.
I agree.
Get dirty. Kids need to go out and get skin up and get dirty. Logan came home one day. My boys, they lived outside sports and everything else. We made them go. Yeah, exactly. And because you're kind of of the same mindset.
Yeah.
Logan came home one day, and we used to live in a cul-de-sac, and he's limping up the street. I guess he was probably, I don't know, 10, 12, somewhere in that age range. And he's got his little pant leg of his shorts pulled up. And he's, I mean, dude, if an Oscar was going to go out, he would have gotten an Oscar. And I'm like, what happened? Nick, heck of me. I'm like, what were y'all doing? We were playing football. Well, that's what happened.
That's what you're supposed to do.
We were doing it in the street. I'm like, well, you're
dumb.
a dumbass. So I went in the garage and got a bottle of water and
Right.
popped the top on it, put a hole in it and just irrigated it.
Yeah.
And I was like, how's that? That's good. And he walks normal back.
He's
to
good
go
to
play
go.
tackle football in the street some more. But, it's, as you know, boys, man, raising boys.
Yeah, I don't have girls. I don't know what it's like. I know people that do, but
Yeah.
sometimes I wish I had one of each to kind of
We
level out my brain. But
it'd be great to have Tracy here for this one because she came home one day and, she left me in charge. Mistake. She came home and there was a patrol car. My patrol car was there, but there was another patrol car and an ambulance was at the house.
oh shit!
So she's,
Oh no!
well, the boys were sword fighting, playing Star Wars and the swords that they were using as lightsabers were lamps. and they hardly ever wore shirts. They're in shorts and using their shirts on.
Right.
So Nick, my oldest, this day he's got a scar about that big center mass where Logan's like
Stabbed him.
There was meat on the bulb. So
Hey, they're lightsabers, though. You got to be careful.
That's
what will happen if it's a real
but
lightsaber.
Logan won the fight.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know whether he was a Darth whoever or what, but
He finished it.
But it was funny because I called the ambulance. I called them. It was two of our SWAT medics were actually on that unit that day and just came to the house to clean them up.
Nice.
And again, talk about prepping. I didn't have what I needed there to fix something that simple.
Right. Well, you got friends.
Well, and think about it. How many times have we scrambled around the house looking for peroxide and a Band-Aid?
I know.
Do
you keep it handy and ready and in stock?
Yeah.
Or if you have peroxide, it's like 20 years old or whatever.
And listen, I'm not going to sit and say that, I'm prepared for this.
Yeah.
I can always improve, and I've I found myself, you need to do this. It's easy to say you need to do this, and this to somebody else, but you got to live it yourself.
Yeah, you do.
And so I've been very, very focused on that, and it's just like, people are like, yeah, somebody comes to my house, I'm going to shoot them. Okay. Where's your gun? I keep it right by the bed. Okay. What if you're sitting on the couch and they kick the door in, or they kick your front and rear door?
Yeah. You're just not thinking,
so you just have to run those what if scenarios, and that's not being all paranoid. It's being prepared because guess what? These crimes are happening right now. Somebody probably just got their door kicked in on a home invasion.
I'm sure. Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, it happens damn near that frequent. There was an incident at noon right downtown in a nice part of the city when I first took over as chief. Yeah. Where a guy went in, popped the back glass, went in the house. 70-something-year-old lady was in there. He had a butcher knife. Oh, shit. And the husband came in about the same time in his 70s, wrestled with a guy, got a couple of cuts. The guy robbed him, and thank God that's all that happened. Yeah, but, and my road units caught him about 10 minutes later. But think about what would have happened if the husband wouldn't have came in.
Oh, yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. And so, bad things happen, and you got to be prepared. And, you got to kind of use that old term, make yourself dangerous, pick some skill sets up.
Well, he wrote something in his book and I hadn't thought about it until I read the book, which was cool. Thank you, Mike Glover. But it was that because I'm a lifelong martial artist and all blah, 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 blah. But like combat is a choice, but catastrophe happens to you. Yeah. And that's a different, I had always thought, well, I'm in control. I can prepare and I can be in control. The thing is, you're not in control. Yeah. When something happens, like a car accident, it cannot be your fault. You just get hit. Yeah. You can't prepare for that. No. What are you good? Yeah. You gotta and so I don't know if it's just training or just thinking or just planning, whatever that is. It doesn't take much effort, though.
It doesn't. And a lot of times it'll end up best guess,
Sure.
And thinking about the what ifs. So think about a tourniquet. Okay, you have a great first aid kit and tourniquets and all that, but it's in the back of your car. So what if you're on a back road?
I thought about that too.
What if you
I keep mine under the seat, and that's probably not smart. Yeah.
What if you just get another one?
Yeah.
They're $29.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something about tourniquet. I don't have any stock or investment in North American Rescue. That's
like the third time I've heard that company's name. Yeah.
I believe in their products. And the reason I believe in their products is not only from the doing T&E on them at the training center, but from talking to people that's used them, either on the street or in combat, and they hold up. They're good. And a couple of things with tourniquets. So, those are $29. You can get them on Amazon.
Isn't that here in South Carolina?
Yeah.
I think they are based here.
Yeah, they're in the upstate.
Yeah.
They make really good products. And so you can go on Amazon, you can get a 10-pack of tourniquets for probably $12, $13 made in China, and they're going to break.
Yeah.
The fabric, because we broke them. The windlasses are crap. They're gonna break. The fabric is weak. It'll tear because we've T&E'd them. And but and just from a training tip for anybody listening, if you're gonna use a tourniquet and train your family and stuff, get a tourniquet, whether it's a blue training tourniquet or you have an old tourniquet, hit it with some spray paint or something, because you don't want to use the tourniquet over and over. Because what do? You're just
the
potentially you're potentially weakening that fabric. I mean, you just don't want to run the chance of it. Will it fail if it's North American Rescue? Probably not. Because but you
use the new one.
But back to in your car. Okay, throw one in your glove, not your glove box, but your center console. Yeah. Because what if you get in a wreck out on a back road and you're entrapped?
And it's just you.
And you have a bleed.
Right.
The first order of care is self-aid, buddy aid, medic aid, doctor aid. Right now, today, America, and other countries as well, but let's stay where we're at. America, and we'll come now to South Carolina and talk specifics, is experiencing a shortage like never before that I've experienced on first responders, cops, fire.
I've heard
EMS.
that.
And if the fire department is short, because those guys sit around in recliners and eat hot dogs all day, that's like the best job. I should have stayed in the fire service. That was for you, Corey. No,
that's funny.
I have so much respect for firefighters. Those guys and girls do such a great job, and they're running just like every other first responder. I had my brother-in-law's a battalion chief, and I was telling him, I was like at Halloween there was all these kids in the front yard dressed as firefighters. So it was a really popular year. There was like 10 kids out there dressed as firefighters. He's like, he's living it up. And I'm like, are you kids going to come get some candy? And they're like, yes, sir. I was like, well, come on. Well, we can't. I'm like, why? We've got to wait as a kid dressed as a cop to come clear the scene first. He's like, that's not funny.
That's pretty good though.
Oh yeah. But back to the car again.
Yeah.
But you're sitting on that back road with say, let's just call it a femoral bleed. And your response time could be 15 to 30 minutes or longer. And if you have a femoral bleed, how long does it take for you to bleed out? By volume?
Depends on where you are.
Yeah. I mean, if you think by volume, the average adult, and we'll use gallons, has, 1 to 1.5 gallons of blood.
Yeah.
How long on a slow pour would it take to empty a gallon and a half?
Yeah.
Okay. So self-aid. And if you can't reach a tourniquet,
you're done.
Do you have a rescue knife handy? Could you use your seatbelt? Then what are you going to use as your windlass? So it's just easier to have a small kit.
It is a rabbit hole
right there. Sure, it is. And it costs money.
Yeah.
You'll
wish you spent that money if you need it though.
Yeah. And you may never use it, but think about this.
I hope you don't ever need to use it.
It might not be you. Excuse me. It might not be you. You might roll up on a wreck. And you could save someone's life.
I think about that too. Like, I mean, how many times have you gone down the interstate and there's just like, a wreck?
Yeah.
I mean,
and I'm going to look at it through different lenses. Obviously, as long as I worked in law enforcement, I've seen a lot of wrecks.
Right.
And tragic. I mean, really, really bad accidents where, with fatalities. And, it's always tough when you have kids involved in it. That's the toughest part. But, if I roll up on a scene, and, years back, we didn't carry tourniquets and stuff. We didn't even have first aid kits, in the cars.
Really?
No, very few. We had a handful of, and they were the little typical metal box type,
Right.
deal. But
Right.
now, a lot of agencies issue AEDs,
Yeah,
first
like
aid
trauma kits and stuff, yeah.
and provide, some advanced training, at least to try to, stabilize someone until, the ambulance gets there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta take the time, put some training in, learn about first aid.
Yeah.
And how to stop the bleed, because and it's not the accidents and stuff. What if you're outside? How many people do you know
dude.
that have cut their fingers off
Yeah.
or damn near on a saw?
Yeah.
What if you're working on something, a screwdriver slips, and
Yeah.
so you stab
I've
yourself,
done that.
or a box cutter.
Yeah, I've actually done it with a box cutter.
Yeah.
Not recently, but years ago. Cut my damn hand
Yeah.
open and was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And had to go get stitches.
We never mean to do any of that stuff.
Of course.
But things happen.
Yeah. No shit.
And so but yeah, you gotta put the time in and read books, on various stuff. Sometimes you'll learn what not to do. Not everything's going to be a great learning experience.
Yeah,
but you that comes with experience. You learn what to filter.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
And learn what works. I'm sure some of the stuff I teach, people they have their own way. They have their own vision of what they want, but that's okay because I know what I'm teaching has continuity with other things as far as it's industry kind of an industry standard, if you will. Well,
I've learned that through training different things in martial arts. There's things that are consistent across lots of different styles.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure it's the same there too. Like
but what do we get? We get hammered into us in martial arts. Humility.
Yeah.
Humility.
Yeah.
It's okay to say, hey, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
I say that more than I realize. I've come to people ask questions and I immediately think of that person who shall remain nameless, where I asked a question and they just made some shit up. And then having had experience, now I realize they were full of shit.
Yeah.
When they told me what they thought they knew.
Right.
And that's pops in my head and I'm like, don't be that person. Just say, I don't know. I will look that up and I will get back to you. Or I don't know. Let's go talk to so-and-so. They probably know. You know?
But I
think that carries more weight long-term.
Yeah.
With your relationship with that person that you're trying to teach things to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't know what you don't know,
Don't be a dick.
But go learn it. If somebody asks you, okay, look at that as that lack of knowledge is a learning opportunity. You
can't know everything. Good Lord.
Just because, from my background, just because I'm an instructor doesn't mean I think I'm an expert in everything.
Right.
I'm a student of, we're all students. It just depends on how you look at it and we're all at different levels, and that's okay.
Don't make shit up.
Just put the work in, and, there's things that, certain things I don't teach. If I'm not qualified to teach, like a sniper.
Oh, man.
I mentioned earlier, I was a sniper.
Yeah.
And I laid behind the rifle for, 2-3 years, I guess. And, but that doesn't mean I can go teach a sniper school.
Right.
All the science, the ballistics, internal, external ballistics related to it, bore the shit out of me.
I was reading about that. That's
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's like when I teach,
it seems a lot sexier than it actually is.
Yeah. When I teach patrol rifle course, I have to talk about the parabolic arc and maximum ordnance and all the things associated with
nerds.
It. Yeah, I have to put my nerd hat on for a little bit and learn that, but I keep it very basic just so they can understand the path and how a bullet flies and what it's going to do. But we're talking shorter distance, which we're not getting into, the Coriolis effect and all this kind of crap.
1,000 meters and stuff.
Yeah. And, but I also qualify it with a disclaimer. Hey, listen, I'm not a ballistics expert because I'm not.
Right.
I was an explosive breacher. I won't teach an explosive breacher course. I've never been an explosive breacher instructor. I haven't done a training shot in years. So I bring in the talent that does that on a regular basis to teach. And that's
smart.
That's where our courses are successful because, if it's something that, if it's a SWAT school,
it's not just for your ego.
I'll bring active people in that just take leave, whether it's from, an ODA or SEAL
That's cool.
platoon to a SWAT team or whatever.
Right.
And then we'll mesh it together. Cause I do like using the law enforcement side as well as the military side so you can kind of get a couple of different perspectives, but still keep it mission oriented. If it's a law enforcement course, we need to keep it mission specific for law enforcement. So
That's cool.
everything applies.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So you have to focus in on, what's being taught and who your audience is and tailor it to it.
Well, before we go, speaking of experts, I mentioned Steven Seagal.
Oh, Steven Seagal.
And you were in New Orleans.
Sensei.
Did you get to work with Steven Seagal in New Orleans? Because he lives there, right? Or he's a police officer. He had a TV show. That's what it was.
He was over in Jefferson Parish, and I'll filter this since it's recorded. So
he might sue us.
Yeah, one of the guys rolls up and from NOPD was driving him, and I see him, and I was like, I liked his movies and stuff, but I see him roll up, and I'm like, oh, cool, Steven Seagal, I see, because I was studying with Sensei Lamar Sanders, studying Aikido. So I go over and introduce myself and say, I'm an Aikido student from Columbia, South Carolina, and he, he's got that.
Oh yeah,
and he gets in your bubble. He's like, well, who's your sensei? Yeah. I said, Sensei Lamar Sanders, and he's like, oh, and hey, Sensei, and
he's not.
He might be. I'll send it to him.
Okay.
And he's like, well, I've never heard of him. I was like, oh, cool. Well, that's my sensei. Picture.
Yeah.
And so we fast forward into the day. We're sitting over under Harris at the casino off a canal.
Uh-huh.
There's a bunch of us sitting there and just talking about various things. And everybody in that group, I think, was also a veteran. And so kind of, we were sitting ball busting, talking about just what, I don't even remember, just whatever. But it was a very much of a ball busting group. So he came over and he had sat down, and one of the guys from NOPD SWAT was talking about the night vision, and the Army had provided him with a bunch of night vision, and it had the head harness with the dial on the back.
Right.
And when you have it clamped down your head and you wear it a long time, it'll kind of put a little stress and tighten your neck muscles and give you a headache. So he chimes in. He's like, I've used them for real in different combat zones and the depth perception. And Dave goes, what branch of the military were you in? He's like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't even want to know it. He gets up and walks away. So one of the other guys is sitting there. He's like, taps him on the leg. And he said, Mrs. Seagal. He's gold tooth sucks on. He said, let me ask you a question. He's like, what's that? And he was sucking on that tooth. Shit. I don't know. Hell, cuz, what happened? He goes, what do you mean? Shit. First your movies were good, and now they suck. What's up?
I bet that went over well.
Oh, like a fart in a space suit.
Yeah.
We're dying. And he got up and walked away.
Of course.
And but yeah.
Speaking of ego, legendary ego, man.
Him. Moving on.
Yeah. Anyway, that's fun. I knew you had an incident.
I've had the opportunity to meet, working in the film industry.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about next episode. But I've met some people that,
I can imagine
as far as it's worked on set with them. But yeah.
Well, that's a good place to leave it, man. That was fun. Glad we finally got to sit down.
Yeah. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
And next time if I'd have known you were going to buy breakfast, I'd have ordered so much more. And we went somewhere really expensive.
That's why I don't tell you.
I know. Somewhere with a tablecloth.
It's not my first rodeo.
I know, right?
All right.
Well, Gene, I appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
I've kept up with your episodes and really enjoy them. And I like each time to see where you're going with your quality and as far as your studio and everything.
We're working on it.
Yeah. And your guests that you've had that I've watched have been great.
Work on it.
Keep crushing it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
But appreciate you having me.
Thank you.